Unless you're living under a rock, it's pretty clear that anime is kicking Hollywood's ass.
Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
Strange things are happening to me. Strange things. If your ears are bleeding, you can blame YouTube's copyright policies for that. But let's get into it. Am I being hyperbolic when I'm saying Hollywood is absolutely cooked? Well, I'll present the evidence and you can judge for yourself. Demon Slayer Infinity Castle has been an absolute smash hit at the international box office. It currently sits at the 9th highest grossing movie of the year and is easily, by far, the highest grossing anime film of all time. As someone who loves the series, even I had no idea it was going to do that well. Really, nobody did.
You didn't see that coming?
Similarly, Chainsaw Man the movie Reze Arc was the #1 movie at the box office the weekend of its release. It currently sits at number 20 of this year's international box office.
Ha! Boom, baby!
But the theaters aren't the only place where anime is succeeding. Netflix recently revealed that half of their viewers all across the globe watch anime. Another study showed that 1 in 3 US consumers watches anime weekly. Not to mention, anime merchandise is everywhere you walk in any store, whether it's Target, Walmart, Hot Topic, etc. While these are huge wins for Japan, Hollywood, on the other hand, is not even coming close to pre-pandemic numbers. This October at the box office was the worst October that Hollywood has seen in 30 years. Yeah, 30 years, 3 decades.
Wow, this is garbage.
If we're looking at 2025 as a whole, many experts predicted that July would be a smashing success with Superman, Jurassic World, and Fantastic Four all launching into theaters. Unfortunately, Superman and Fantastic Four drastically underperformed, and Jurassic World Rebirth, while turning a profit, didn't measure up to the billion-dollar totals of the previous Jurassic World films. But if you're looking back at the last 10 years, none of this is really a surprise. From 2015 to 2019, the annual domestic box office hovered around $12 billion and cratered during the pandemic. Even though Hollywood has recovered since then, it's not close to those numbers anymore.
You are cooked! Cooked, huh?
We're almost done with 2025, and the domestic box office currently sits around only $6 billion, half of the pre-pandemic average. But what about the global box office totals? To clarify, this total is a sum of all theaters' ticket sales across the globe and is used to illustrate the health of film globally. Currently, that number is around 18 billion, 27% lower than 2024.
Oh God, I'm pathetic.
Granted, there are still some big releases before the year's end, like Wicked for Good, Zootopia 2, and Avatar Fire and Ash, but these movies will have to perform phenomenally to avoid another market share loss for Tinseltown. But why is it that anime is rising to the top at the same time that Hollywood can't find its footing? Well, today we're going to break down the top 5 reasons why anime has surpassed Hollywood and why this trend seems it will continue. Real quick, if you're enjoying the video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. My goal is to hit 1,000 subscribers and get fully monetized, and any support is greatly appreciated. Now back to the video. Number 1. Authentic adaptations. The vast majority of anime are adapted from manga. Although translating books to a visual medium comes with some creative liberties, manga panels are essentially storyboards from which to base an anime on. Anime are expected to adapt the manga as closely as possible to the original work. Both manga and anime are beloved properties that the Japanese treat with extreme respect and are enjoyed by children and adults alike. Thus, shows that divert from the original source material are lambasted for not sticking to the vision that enthralled fans to begin with.
I'm in tremendous pain! I'm in tremendous pain! Help me! Help me! Help me!
For example, The Promised Neverland's first season was one of the hottest animes of 2019. However, the highly anticipated Season 2 opted to skip entire story arcs and rush to the end in order to wrap up the series. The show, despite its fantastic first season, has effectively been forgotten for this creative malpractice.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
In general, Japanese studios usually put authenticity above all else when it comes to making anime. Hollywood, on the other hand, seems to intentionally go out of their way to change key aspects of their adaptations.
You're an irredeemable monster! Oh, what took you so long, idiot?
Let's look at some examples. Marvel Studios has told writers and directors to actually avoid reading the comics that the shows are based on. Simu Liu, the titular star of Shang-Chi, was told not to read the comics when filming the movie. Beau DeMayo, director of X-Men 97, exposed on his way out of the company that the MCU meetings are slaughterhouses if you're a comic purist. Luis de Esposito, the executive producer of Marvel Studios, reportedly does not like comics nor adapting their stories. He also thinks the original creators of these classic characters and stories should essentially be seen and not heard, so that Disney Marvel is able to do what they want without any respect for the source material. How in the holy fuck are you the EP of a comic book movie company and hate comics?
My disappointment is immeasurable.
Similarly, Netflix's Witcher adaptation took heavy creative liberties, so much so that Henry Cavill, who played the Witcher himself, ended up leaving the show after 3 seasons. He was criticized by crew members for being hard to work with when, in reality, he was insistent on respecting the lore of the book since he is a huge fan.
I am effusive about getting the being loyal to the source material. Let's put it that way.
I'm the most annoying guy on set because I'm saying, excuse me, you do realize that this should be happening and they wouldn't do that, and you haven't read this, that means this would be impossible. And everyone's just going, Henry, just shut up and do the thing. And I'm like, I don't want to do the thing because he wouldn't do it this way, and he can do this.
God forbid an adaptation stay true to its source.
Fuck.
Amazon's The Rings of Power has been nothing more than a bastardization of Tolkien's works. While the legendary J.R.R. Tolkien was a master of characterization and world building, showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay have failed to respect his lore and have offered shallow, lifeless characters and storylines that are an insult to the legendary author's legacy.
Give me the meat and give it to me raw.
On a similar note, Disney Star Wars has chosen to borrow from the expanded universe when convenient and to ignore its canon when otherwise not. But why is it that all these major studios have elected to not only ignore source material, but to purposely disrespect the works that their intellectual properties are based on? One reason is that they do not want to pay royalties to the original creators. If adaptations vary and change a lot from the original stories, they are less likely to have to pay the creators for their contributions to these mega franchises. Another reason leads us right into our next point. Number 2, messaging over story. Hollywood has elected to push ideology in their projects despite fan backlash and waning financial returns. Their focus has primarily shifted to virtue signaling rather than delivering what fan bases want, a good story and characters. This has resulted in treating source material as an afterthought in order to abnormally reshape franchises into vehicles for the message. Timeless franchises do not need to be updated nor infected with modern sensibilities. It robs them of what made them unique in the first place.
Ugh, what happened to your face?
To be clear, I don't want to make this political. Like, trust me, I'm just as sick as I imagine everyone is of the divided culture politics has forged in the last decade plus.
Her cat was named Vagina.
Strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure.
But at this point, it's unavoidable to not bring this up when divisive social and political issues have made their way into nearly every facet of the entertainment industry in Hollywood. Don't believe me? Let's hear it straight from some of the actors' mouths.
I do not need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work for him about A Wrinkle in Time. It wasn't made for him.
What? Oh, hell no!
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that
she's not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Who's the guy?
Yeah, everyone is just so beautifully queer, and that roots all the way back to the L. Frank Baum books, where, like, literally the most commonly used word in the books is queer.
You probably think your opinions matter. What the hell are you talking about?
She's a powerful leader. Yes. In a very woman-centered world, which I was very excited to kind of be that, because I feel like Star Wars is very, like, patriarchal, so...
You've reached your limit on talking. Shut the fuck up.
I think that Star Wars is so gay already.
Okay.
I mean, have you seen the fits? We'd be like, look how gay this is, and then send each other a reference.
And are you telling me, with a straight face, that C-3PO is straight?
Why are you even thinking this way?
When are these actors gonna learn their lesson, man?
If you do win an award tonight, don't use it as a platform to make a political speech, right? You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. So, if you win, right, come up, accept your little award, thank your agent and your god, and fuck off, okay?
But if I'm being objective, actors' opinions are ancillary to the films themselves. It's not fair to judge a project based on a divisive comment from the cast or crew. On that note, let's strictly look at the content of the projects themselves over the last couple years. In 2018, Kevin Feige made it a point that there would be more female superheroes than male in the MCU. He also promised that there would be gay superheroes that were completely out of the closet. Now, before I get labeled an ist or a phobe, I am not anti-woman and I'm not anti-LGBT. However, what I am completely against is pushing a character solely because of their immutable characteristics, rather than their personality or other character traits. Defining a character on their gender, sexuality, or ethnicity alone is an absolute recipe for disaster. And it's clear that the audience agreed with me. Save for a couple nostalgia-fueled successes in Spider-Man No Way Home and Deadpool and Wolverine, the vast majority of MCU entries post-Endgame were monumental box office failures. And it didn't help that the agenda they were pushing was incredibly heavy-handed and poorly executed. Wanda was portrayed as a misunderstood mother when really she enslaved an entire town.
They'll never know what you sacrificed for them.
And yet she was given a pass because she's a woman, or I don't know, a mother's grief justifies slavery? I guess. What exactly did you mean by this, Disney?
Well, it's funny you should, see the George, they're onto us!
On another cringe note, Falcon was racially profiled in his show, despite the fact that everyone on Earth, and probably the universe, would know him as one of the Avengers who saved the fucking galaxy. And who could forget the peak cringe of She-Hulk lecturing the Hulk about how she works harder to control her rage because she's a woman.
Here's the thing, Bruce. I'm great at controlling my anger. I do it all the time. When I'm catcalled in the street, when incompetent men explain my own area of expertise to me, I do it pretty much every day, because if I don't, I will get called emotional or difficult or might just literally get murdered.
You lying ass bitch.
So I'm an expert at controlling my anger because I do it infinitely more than you.
You serious? Mind you, MCU Hulk literally could not have intimacy with the woman so that he wouldn't Hulk out when excited. He literally tried to self-delete because life was so unbearable, and yet She-Hulk has it harder because people hit on her, and her boss is mean.
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
But Marvel Studios isn't the only culprit when it comes to pushing agendas where they don't belong. In the Rings of Power, Galadriel is portrayed as the most badass warrior in Middle-earth, whereas in the book she was a serene, ethereal goddess whose power was in her wisdom and femininity. And why was she altered?
Strong woman! Strong woman! Strong!
And let's not forget Lucasfilm's immense contributions in this category, like Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Dog Shit, where Indy is a depressed husk of his former self that needs the guidance of a condescending, strong, annoying woman to show him how to grow his balls back.
Fuck Indiana Jones, put a chick in it and make her name it gay!
And who could forget SJW Fembot in Solo and her crusade to free droids from bondage despite the fact they are unfeeling machines?
Stop exploiting droids! 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 We are sentient! Rebellion!
Take that, clanker.
Fun fact, Phoebe Waller-Bridge plays both of these amazing characters.
Enough from the clown!
And who could forget the queen of the Mary Sues herself, Rey Palpatine. If you want to hear more about my thoughts on her, I have another video on my channel discussing just how much she has improved the Star Wars franchise.
That was sarcasm! I was being sarcastic, you fucking idiot!
Anime, on the other hand, does not play these identity politics games. Anime creators do not give characters that are sexual, gender, or racial minorities special treatment, nor do they define them by these traits. Additionally, anime typically adheres to traditional values. Men are masculine, women are feminine, and both are powerful in their own right. Both male and female characters are given authority in appropriate situations according to the internal logic of the narrative, and neither gender constantly berates the other. These are some of the reasons why the money keeps pouring in for Eastern entertainment. And speaking of money, that brings us to our next point. Number 3, ballooned budgets. At the end of the day, whether a project is good or bad is irrelevant to a studio. Making a substantial return on their financial investment has and always will be the primary objective, and that's not a bad thing. Hollywood raked in money and delivered fantastic stories for decades. But nowadays, this has become a double kick in the nuts. The majority of movies and shows are homogenized slop, and they're losing the studio's money hand over fist. Astronomical budgets are one of the main culprits. Let's look at Demon Slayer Infinity Castle's budget compared to Inside Out 2, for example. Two animated films that did gangbusters within the last year or so. Demon Slayer cost $20 million, while Inside Out 2 cost $200 million. 10 times more. And you could say, well, Inside Out 2 made nearly $1.7 billion, while Infinity Castle made only around $770 million. Thus, Disney Pixar's bigger investment more than paid off. And that is true, but unfortunately, that doesn't tell the whole story. Many recent Disney animated films have failed. Lightyear, Elio, Wish, Turning Red, Onward, Strange World. All of these bombs cost around $200 million and didn't come close to recouping their budgets. But how exactly can we tell? When we're looking at movie budgets versus profits, it's not as simple as comparing the total cost against the total gross. Let me break it down. Now, this isn't an exact science, but the rule goes as follows. Movies are obviously not shown at theaters for free.
Why not, you stupid bastard?
Studios and theater chains split the profits about 50-50. Thus, we have to take a budget and double it right off the bat. Next, we have to account for the marketing budget. Now, this number will vary depending on if the film is a smaller release or a blockbuster tentpole, but on average, the marketing budget is about half of the production budget. Taking these facts into account allows us to calculate a film's break-even point at which it will start to turn a profit. So now that we have that established, let's conduct this order of operations for both Inside Out 2 and Demon Slayer Infinity Castle. Inside Out 2 had a budget of $200 million. Double that to account for the split between theaters and the studio, and we get $400 million. Add in marketing, which is half of the production budget, and the break-even number comes to $500 million. Thus, if we take the $1.7 billion total box office gross and subtract $500 million, Disney still raked in $1.2 billion in profits. If we crunch the numbers for Demon Slayer in the same way, it turned a profit of $720 million. Now, even though Demon Slayer grossed $500 million less than Inside Out, we have to remember that the former's budget was only 10% of the latter. In the long run, these smaller budgets are far less risky for anime studios and percentage-wise reap far greater rewards than a major Hollywood production that requires hundreds of millions just to get off the ground. But there's another thing we have to take into account. The Chinese film market. China is incredibly strict about showing foreign films in their country, but it is a huge market and Hollywood bends over backwards to be able to show their films there.
I can't understand a word you're saying.
The Chinese government keeps 75% of the profits of foreign films, and Hollywood gets to keep the remaining 25%. In the case of Inside Out 2, it earned about $47.5 million in China. Disney only got to keep around $12 million from that, and the rest went to Winnie the Pooh. Even with this taken into account, Disney still made well over $1 billion on that film, but this is now an exception to the rule for Hollywood. Most blockbusters nowadays don't even make their money back. Many of them also have budgets between $150 to $250 million and need to hit between $400 and $500 million just to break even. And considering China gets 75% of their country's gross, a lot of films that appear to be huge successes overseas are really not when you take this into account. Lastly, it must be said that the studios in Hollywood lie all the time about budgets. The Rise of Skywalker was reported to have a $275 million budget. However, recent tax documents revealed that the total budget was in actuality nearly $594 million.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Granted, Disney Lucasfilm got around $100 million in tax write-offs for filming in the UK, which left the total around $489 million. That means at minimum, The Lies of Shitwalker would have had to hit $978 million to break even. It made around $1.08 billion, meaning it barely broke a profit. However, we're still not sure if that huge, enormous budget included marketing. And holy shit, if it did not, that means The Cries of Shycocker needed to hit around $1.1 billion just to break even. And if so, it was $1 billion bomb, which is an inconceivable reality.
Reality can be whatever I want.
Similarly, it was recently revealed that Deadpool and Wolverine cost $533 million. Its initial reported budget was around $225. Even if I'm generous and estimate the marketing cost to be around $175 million, the film's break-even point would be around $1.2 billion. Its total gross was $1.34 billion, meaning it turned around a $140 million profit or so. If a studio is spending hundreds of millions of dollars to make a measly profit, even after hitting well over $1 billion, there is something horrendously wrong with their business model.
I smell shit!
And finally, Indiana Jones 5: The Dial of Dogwater cost $419 million, not its reported $300 million, meaning it lost at least $554 million. Not a great way for Indy to ride into the sunset, now is it? This is all to say these ballooning budgets are completely unsustainable. For every movie in the last couple years to hit $1 billion, there are 10, hell even 20 that fail to break even or barely squeeze out a profit. And then there's anime, that's produced at a fraction of the cost. Even when comparing entire seasons worth of shows, it's not even a competition. For example, the entirety of Dragon Ball Super, which includes 131 episodes that were made for around $200K apiece, cost $26.2 million, and that is for multiple seasons. Let's compare this to Invincible, one of Hollywood's most popular animated series. It cost $24 million for the show's 3 seasons. Thus, $24 million yielded 20 hours of Invincible, whilst $26 million yielded around 39 hours for Dragon Ball Super, almost double the content for nearly the same cost. And yes, before I get called out, I'm well aware the cost of living and wages are much lower in Japan than America. This is not necessarily a fair comparison. However, it's an objective reality that Hollywood is being priced out by anime. It hurts even more that the quality of Japan's content is largely superior as well. It's ironic that Hollywood, which has largely abandoned the 2D hand-drawn art style, is being dominated by a medium that almost entirely employs 2D animation. Wasn't the whole point of switching to computer graphics to save time and money? It seems in doing so, Hollywood allowed anime to capitalize on a market that was no longer being catered to, which leads us to reason number 4. Number 4, embracing 2D animation. While the West has largely abandoned 2D animation, anime has continued to utilize it almost exclusively. It is synonymous with the art form. While some anime have employed 3D models here and there, the vast majority have avoided transitioning to full CGI productions. Hand-drawn animation is seen as more true to the source material, since anime are adapting hand-drawn manga. On that note, 2D animation allows anime artists to more closely reproduce the art style of the manga they're adapting. While it takes a lot more money and manpower, Japanese studios prefer 2D animation. Take Studio Ghibli for example, the most famous animation studio outside of the United States. Miyazaki is heavily against the use of AI and technological advances if it means cutting corners in the creative process. Even though the studio has ventured into 3D animation and has used it to improve certain scenes, the quote-unquote Disney of Japan is committed to 2D animation. This hand-drawn animation is an art form that is beloved by anime fans across the world. It is synonymous with anime, and fans would revolt if the industry changed in favor of cutting time and costs. And since Western studios have decided to go in a different direction, Japan now has almost sole control of this market that is not being catered to by its competitors.
Is this your game? Huh?
And sure, current cartoons still employ 2D animation, but the hand-drawn animated blockbusters that took over the cultural zeitgeist in decades past simply don't exist anymore. Earlier this year, I watched The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, which I highly recommend. It was a true love letter to classic Looney Tunes and had me laughing the entire time. And the fact that it was the first Western 2D film I had seen in over a decade in the theater emphasized how sorely lacking Hollywood has been in this facet. When it comes to Hollywood, 2D animation was a staple that built a lot of studios. Disney would not exist if not for their legendary animated library. In the 90s, The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Mulan, and others cemented Disney as an entertainment staple on the heels of facing bankruptcy in the 80s.
Oh,
Oh, poor miserable Cookie deserves fish.
What the hell is even that?
Furthermore, it bolstered Western animation as a vehicle for commercial and critical success. But today, computer-generated films are the only ones that come from Disney Animation. The last 2D animated film was 2011's Winnie the Pooh. This was right after 2009's Princess and the Frog underperformed and Disney fully pivoted to computer animation. And the same goes for DreamWorks, Sony, and Illumination. Hell, even SpongeBob's movies are 3D now, for God's sake. And since all these major studios are using the same tools to make films, the art and animation style has been largely homogenized. Early on, when computer animation was still a novel concept, one of the goals was to improve the animation itself. Don't get me wrong, Western studios still wanted to present great stories, but refining the textures, shadows, and lighting effects became almost as big of a priority. I mean, just look at Woody and Buzz in the first movie compared to Toy Story 4. I mean, it's seriously breathtaking. But after a while, too much emphasis was put on photorealism. When art design's main goal is to look realistic, a project will lose its unique flair. If all studios make the sky, forest, and water look authentic to reality, then inevitably they will all start to blend together and lose their character. That is why Into the Spider-Verse was such a sensation when it came out. Its unique blend of 2D and 3D animation shook up the Western animation industry. It blended 2D drawings with CGI and lower frame rates to introduce a gritty, frenetic style that hadn't been seen before. In many ways, it took cues from anime. A lower frame rate than typical Western animation, more stylized visuals, and bold use of colors made it really feel like a drawing come to life. But in the years since, many other films have copied this style as well, to the point where it too has started to grow stale. New Disney animation head Jared Bush has hinted that Disney will return to its 2D roots, and I hope so for the sake of Western film, but there are real questions whether the current crop of animators even know how to make a 2D feature anymore, and if those who do will be able to retrain an entire industry before the techniques and workflows are completely lost.
And it's gone.
Perhaps the most important reason anime has refused to abandon traditional animation is because it's what the fans want, and that leads us to our fifth and final point. Number 5, failed fan service. Simply put, Hollywood is not giving the fans what they want when it comes to intellectual properties, or really any films for that matter. And with the 4 previous points we have highlighted, there is a clear disconnect between the studios and the customers. It seems as though the studios have a vendetta out for the fans. They have delivered subpar product and expect the average person to slop it up in spite of the clear drop in quality. Perhaps what is most glaring is that there are little or no fans making the key decisions for these franchises. Somewhere along the way, these companies decided to hinder artists' visions in order to paint by the numbers, and that is glaringly clear by the decisions that have been made recently. Han, Luke, and Leia did not share a single scene together in the sequel trilogy. That's an unthinkable crime against fandom.
Guilty! That is guilty!
And with Carrie Fisher gone, God rest her soul, there will never be another opportunity. Marvel sidelined fan favorites in order to push characters that weren't even popular in the comics and had their series repeatedly canceled. Amazon and Netflix ignored legendary source material in favor of updating for a modern audience.
Put a chick in it, make her gay!
And what's crazy about all this is that Hollywood knows exactly what works. Marvel was on top of the world within the last decade. Nearly every film was a smashing success. And why? Marvel made wish fulfillment a main priority. The entire first phase was leading to the Avengers and establishing an interconnected universe. In the early 2000s, this was something comic fans dreamed of but never thought they'd actually see. And it didn't stop there. Most characters had comic-accurate costumes. Spider-Man was introduced and could cross over with MCU projects. Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet storyline was built up over the course of 6 whole years. These fan service moments were not the end-all be-all, but rather were the icing on an already delicious cake. There was good writing, character development, and world building at the core of it all. The MCU had this down to a science, but the script has been completely flipped. projects seemed aimless and disconnected from an overarching story. The narratives are presented in ways that suggest Disney and Marvel are embarrassed by the source material even though it made them billions. And now, after several years of box office failures, the MCU has resorted to spamming fan service, which is rooted in desperation. When they realized that fans were not pleased with shitty stories and characters, they shoved in a ton of cameos wherever they could. And while it's cool to see Hugh Jackman, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Wesley Snipes, and others, these moments are only as meaningful as the story surrounding them. What exactly were phases 4, 5, and 6, aka the multiverse saga, leading to? Even before Jonathan Majors pulled a Ray Rice, it was unclear as to how all of the projects were leading to Kang and, more importantly, why the audience should care. With the writing on the wall, Marvel panicked and rushed ahead with Doomsday. Remember RDJ? Well, he's back, but not as Iron Man. This time he's Doctor Doom. Remember the OG X-Men? Remember Deadpool and Wolverine, even though we just saw them in the last couple years? Well, they're back too. Remember Captain America and Thor? The characters you actually give a shit about? Well, they're gonna have starring roles. In this same vein, I fully expect to see Nick Cage as Ghost Rider, Ben Affleck as Daredevil, and Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk. They're gonna pull out almost endless cameos in Doomsday and Secret Wars. But again, none of it matters without an engaging, well-written story. Star Wars is in an even worse place with the fans. After destroying all goodwill with the fan base, Disney Lucasfilm doesn't know how to do anything but throw recognizable characters, vehicles, and iconography on the screen. Fans want to see things they have always dreamt of, but the way it is being presented by Hollywood feels entirely inauthentic. And to quote a smart guy, authenticity is the currency of the day. On the contrary, anime has always strived to meet the fans where they are and deliver above and beyond. Since anime are largely adaptations, manga fans have to wait years before they see iconic moments brought to the screen. And since comics and manga are mediums that rely on the reader to fill in the gaps in between panels, a lot of the action-heavy moments are somewhat left up to interpretation. Thus, anime studios strive to make these moments just as, if not more impactful than the manga and produce scenes that live up to what fans have imagined. Moreover, anime largely focus on stories that appeal to the fantasies of both male and female fans. Shonen anime, my personal favorite genre, appeals to the male power fantasy. Shonen characters start off weak, but in the face of overwhelming odds, continue to push their limits and defeat increasingly powerful enemies and threats. Superhero stories adhere to this same framework, which is why they are so successful when done correctly. Female fans are typically drawn to romance, slice of life, mystery, and drama anime. While there is obviously crossover between who likes what, the point is that anime leaves fans satisfied. And that is what Hollywood has to do again. They have to stop being gatekeepers who litigate how a fandom is defined. That is not for them to decide. Their role is to respect the OG fan base, which have garnered them success in the first place, listen to what they want, and realize that without their support, they will continue to fail until there is no turning back. But you know, I think it's about time we wrap this up. At this point, Hollywood has its fate in its own hands. Will the studios continue to be stubborn old men resigned to go down with the ship, or will they finally attempt to meet the fans halfway? We have entered a new era where streaming is king, the theaters are dying, and traditional media is on its last legs. With Netflix on the verge of buying Warner Brothers, we are on the precipice of consolidating the film industry beyond repair. Lack of competition means there is no need to innovate nor deliver good product. AI and algorithms will take precedent over creatives, completely eliminating the humanity in movies and television. I, for one, don't want machine-made slop to be my primary choice for entertainment. And if anime is the only medium where I will find satisfaction, then so be it. Millions of customers have given up on Western media and have shifted to where they are being fully catered to. It is in this critical moment where Hollywood must evolve or die. And if I were a betting man, I would start to say my goodbyes. Thank you so much for sticking with the video this long. Please like and subscribe and let me hear your thoughts. Is anime the new king of entertainment, or does Hollywood still have some gas in the tank? Again, my goal is to hit 1,000 subs and get monetized, so any support for me to get there to continue making high quality content for y'all is greatly appreciated. I'll see you all in the next one.